Alright, so in this video, we're going to go over putting a Linux distro on a USB drive. Now, using this method, it is possible to put a Windows operating system on there. However, if you're doing that, let's face it, you're not doing it legally. You're doing it because you download an ISO off the internet and you want it for free. I can't guarantee it's going to work for that. I know it will work for Linux because this is the only method I use. So first thing, this is cross-platform, the tool we'll be using. So you can download for Windows, Linux, or Mac. They all work. And then, so that's the tool we'll be using is called UNetBootin. If you're on Mac or Windows, you can download it from this website, or if you're on Linux. They also have packages for Ubuntu. These two would be Debian packages, and they would all be for their corresponding package. Or most Linux distros will have will already have it, so you can just, since I'm on Ubuntu, I can do sudo apt-get install, and then UNetBootin, and you just hit enter. Ask you for your password. I already have it installed, so it's not going to install it for me, but that's how you would do that. And of course, if you're using a different distro, you would install it using your package manager, and you could use your GUI such as your Synaptic or the Software Center in Ubuntu, but I like using the terminal. Now, since we have the tool, we need to go get the ISO file. And once again, I'm not going to explain how to do that if you're on Windows, but if you are on Linux, what you can do is you can actually Google. You can Google the operating system. So in this case, I'm using Linux Mint for this tutorial. I'm not using Google because I don't like their tracking and stuff. Watch the Linux Action show, forgive me, and they recommended that. And you can go here, download Linux Mint 11, and you can download directly from a mirror, or there are, so DVD 32-bit, find what you want, or you can get a torrent, which is what I recommend because it's faster. Or you could just use your BitTorrent search of choice, whether it's the Pirate Bay or whatever. Once again, I don't recommend or promote that, but if you use that, it's not illegal to download torrents if the file you're downloading is legal, so go right ahead. And so once you have both those files, if you see here, I have my downloads file here. I have my Linux Mint, oops, didn't mean to zoom in. Got my Linux Mint ISO file in here. It's completely downloaded. You want to make sure it's completely downloaded. If it's your file iso.part that's not all the way finished, go back and wait for it to finish downloading. As you can see here, I also have Arch Linux. Now I'm actually running a 64-bit machine, but I'm using 32 because it's complicated. But once you have those downloaded, you can go ahead and fire up UNetBootin. When you first fire it up for the first time, it's going to require you to enter your administrative password, so go ahead and do that. And you're brought up with this screen. Now, if you didn't download your ISO from earlier, you can select the ISO you want. So Arch Linux, I want this one that gives you a description, install notes, blah blah blah. So you see here the default version allows for installation over the internet, so if you want to do that, you could. It's going to, now this is going to download it, so it's going to take a while. But as you can see here, they have lots of these that you can choose from. One Ubuntu. They don't have support for all the newest ones, they have to wait to update, but the newest Ubuntu you can get is 10.04. Oh no, my bad, I clicked it's Ubuntu. Oh, but either way, the latest you can get for Ubuntu is 10.04, which is their long-term support release. So if you want that, you can get it. However, I'm going to be using the disk image that you downloaded from earlier. What you're going to want to do is click the dot dot dot, and this is the same way for Windows 2. You want to go to you want to go to the folder where your ISO file is. You want to select your ISO and open it. Click open. Now over here, down the bottom, under where you're going to the flash drive you're selecting, you're going to want to click USB drive. That's what you want. If you want hard drive, it's going to override everything. That's not what you want. And over here on drive, if you're using Windows, it'll have your nice little letter drive, because it's all nice and user friendly and unstable and full of viruses, but that's besides the point. If you're on Linux and you don't know which device is yours, I think this is part of GNOME. You can go ahead and fire up your disk utility or whatever equal tool. I know you can get gparted, and this will do the same thing. Under peripheral devices, as you can see, I have a Lexar USB flash drive, which is 4 gigs. And over here under the mount point, or not the mount point, under the device name, you can see it says dev sdb1. If I go over here, dev sdb1 is my drive. That's what I want. And then you want to make sure that you have the disk image box ticked if you use one you download from torrent, distribution, or custom if you know what you're doing. I don't recommend that if you don't know what you're doing. I have no clue what that is. I assume it'd be when you select your custom kernel, and yeah, that's kind of hard. You don't want to do that. You just want to stick with your disk image or distribution, make sure everything is right. And if your flash drive is formatted under a different thing, you can click show all drives. It's very important that you know what you're doing and you're absolutely positive you click your device you want, or else you could mess stuff up. I tend not to do that because usually it can read it. Once you have everything ready to go ahead and click OK, and it'll go ahead and it will extract and it will copy all your files to the flash drive. And depending on how big your flash drive is, some files may take longer. For example, filesystem.squashfs, that always takes a long time. For me, on this flash drive, because it's 4 gig on my other 1 gig flash drive, it did not last a very long time at all. But after this is all loaded up, I'm not going to show it in this video because I can't record my screen to reboot, and I don't want to get a camera out and edit the videos together. I just want to keep it all one shot. But once you boot up, or once it's all on there and you're done, it's going to give you the option reboot. You have 2 options. I'm not sure if it's the same on all computers, if you're using a different motherboard and BIOS version and everything like that. Your first option is to go into your BIOS. I know on Dell computers, or at least the ones I've worked with, if you press F1 while it's booting, at the loading, like the very first thing that pops up when you boot, that little progress bar, if you hit F1 during that, it'll bring you to your BIOS setup. If you don't know what that is for your computer, go ahead and, if it's not custom built, you can Google your computer model. If it is custom built, Google your motherboard and your BIOS. However, if you did build your computer custom, you shouldn't have a problem figuring that out. Now your other choice, which is the one I usually use, and I don't know if all computers have this, but if I hit F11 or F12, I'm pretty sure it's F12. I'm not quite positive right now. It's one of the two. If I press those during boot up, it'll give me one time only option when I boot up, and what that means is if I decide I don't want to do that and restart my computer again, it's not going to default back into that, which is the problem with the BIOS version, is every time you turn on your computer it's going to boot off whatever you set first, which in this case would be your flash drive or USB device, or an SD card or whatever, but it will boot into that by default. So if you have that and then you want to boot into your hard drive, it's going to go ahead and boot into your flash drive, which is not always what you want. So I recommend using the second method if you can. When you do that, it'll give you a list of all your devices, your hard drive, your flash drive, or anything else you have plugged in. If you have a CD, and you could do this with a CD too. I don't use UNetBootin, use a disk burner. I might go over that in another tutorial. I like USB drives though. And what you do is you just boot off of that. Most distros have a live CD environment, so you can go around and mess with it. This is great if, say, you want to do like banking or stuff or anything secure in this, but you still want to use Windows for whatever reason. For everything else, you can. If you want to try it out real quick before you install it, you can. So it's really good for that. But yeah, once you do that, you'll have a fully functional Linux or Windows if you mess around with it a little bit. Bootable flash drive. I hope you find this useful. I know it's very useful for me because I distro hop a whole lot. You don't see it, but I do. I've installed lots of different OSs with this method. I recommend it. And if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up or sorry about that. Give it a thumbs up. I thought I had lost my terminal doing all the recording. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and do all that great stuff. Until next time, I'll see you later.